tendencies were only a proposal away if only she had the courage to act. Vivian released a weighted sigh and grasped Muriel's hand in her own. While I appreciate your quoting my own novel to me, it does not mean I agree with you in this instance. This is not one of my works of fiction, wherein grand gestures always result in a favourable outcome. If you must ask the Baron to marry you, at least ask him in private. If it is a chaperone you are needing, I humbly offer my services in place of the ballroom full of witnesses." She threw her arms around her dear friend, giggling. "Cease your worrying, he won't reject me. And a departure from the rules requires a grand gesture for all to accept it. Trust me, Vivian, this will be so romantic. You'll be writing your next novel based on our love story." Vivian groaned and stepped aside. "I certainly hope so, and pray the Baron answers favourably, for your sake as well as your family's. If I wasn't certain of his affections, I would not ask." Muriel twisted the ring around her thumb, her heart hammering. Good thing she was wearing gloves. Her hands were sweating profusely. But she supposed any lady would be perspiring when the gentleman of her dreams was about to kiss her for the first time. In all these months of courting, she thought Baron Deverell would at least attempt to kiss her cheek. Well, after the romantic proposal she had planned for tonight, he would be so moved and convinced of her affections, he would no longer be so reserved. He would kiss her in front of all, effectively silencing the disapproving society matrons with his devotion. She swept into the assembly ballroom that smelled heavily of tallow candles that alighted the wall sconces and wooden chandelier overhead. Baron Deverell was not difficult to find among the milling crowd, all dressed in their finest evening wear, with his broad shoulders clothed in the latest of London's fashions and his shock of golden curls that never could be trained into a pompadour. She rested her hand over her chest at the sight of him, this gentleman who was about to be her dear Baron Deverell. She wove through the crowded room, laughing as she was jostled by the merrymaking. She could hardly wait to claim her promised Scottish reel with him and sweep him away from that horridly lovely raven-haired Miss Fox, who seemed to be ever near these days. If Muriel weren't so certain of his partiality for caramel locks and chocolate eyes, she would have been tempted to give in to her jealousy. But soon she would never have need to fear any other woman attempting to abscond with his hand. She waited for his easy smile to spread at the sight of her, and was rewarded with a flash of the darling set of dimples that proclaimed his echoed delight. "Miss Beau, is it already time for our dance?" His rich cultured timbre enveloped her as he extended his hand, nodded to Miss Fox, and led Muriel onto the parquet dance floor. The music swelled, and she whirled to and fro, admiring his performance of the reel and basking in the fact that he was about to promise himself to her forever. When their hands met once more under the centre chandelier, surrounded by the fresco of two lovers encircled by cherubs, lending to the romance of it all, Muriel tugged him to a halt while the other couples continued to swirl about them in perfect time. His eyes widened, and he at once attempted to recommence the reel with her. She shook her head, beaming up at him, confidence brimming. "Baron Deverell, Miss Beau, are you ill?" He moved to assist her from the parquet dance floor, his cheeks reddening as the whirling and thudding of feet about them lessened, and the chamber orchestra came to a grating cessation. "Is it your ankle again?" His heightened colour gave her pause, and in that moment she realized he might not appreciate such a public display of affection. But she was committed now, as all were staring at them, some even subtly pointing, most likely thinking she had stumbled and missed a step, and yet again upset a perfectly good reel. Before she dwelt more on what she was about to do, Muriel grasped his hand, holding it firmly, though he was making it difficult with his unrelenting tugging. She gripped it more securely,